Welcome to the Goatee Sports Page.
Coming to you live from the Blue Tick Tavern in Maryville and 105.1 FM.
Streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Bringing you the best in local sports since 1978. Featuring the Greenfield Gunner, Mike Edwards, former Maryville Scot, Donnie Moore, former UT coach, Ray Trail. From the Daily Times, Marcus Fitzsimmons, and Troy Pro O'Haron.
Hello, everybody, and greetings from the Blue Tick Tavern in downtown Maryville. I'm Mike Edwards, the Greenfield Gunner, along with Donnie Moore, Troy Provo O'Haron, Marcus Fitzsimmons, and Coach Ray Trail, and this is the Goatee Sports Page. Tennessee vaults to number 3 in the country. SEC championship and playoff fever is in the air, and we're going to the whistle blows. And now let's set today's lineup card, sponsored by Blunt Partnership. It's the University of Tennessee Sports Report, sponsored by the Cherokee Group, followed by the Klein Dental Arts SEC Notebook with volunteer football coaching legend Ray Trail, Daily Times sports editor Troy Provo O'Haron, and veteran sports writer Marcus Fitzsimmons. The crew will look back on the Vols' historic win over Alabama. Donnie Moore will announce high school scores from around the area and then mark it down with Marcus Fitzsimmons, sponsored by Mandy B. Street Realty. Features Maryville College basketball as Scott's head coach, Raul Placeres, will join Marcus. Daily Times sports editor Troy Provo O'Haron MCs the Anderson Lumber Company High School Player of the Week segment. Today, Troy will change course a little bit and talk some Tennessee Vol basketball. Donnie Moore and the panel discuss sports headlines from around the country before the Tennessee Smokies spotlight shines on the college football slate from across the land. Number 7 Mississippi at LSU will headline. And finally, the panel gives their Shelter Insurance college football predictions for the week. And now it's time for the UT Sports Report, sponsored by the Cherokee Group and the Klein Dental Arts SEC Notebook, featuring former UT football coach Ray Trail, Daily Times sports editor Troy Provo O'Haron, and veteran sports writer Marcus Fitzsimmons. Last Saturday, the Tennessee Vols broke a 15-game losing streak to the Alabama Crimson Tide, coming away with a 52-49 heart-stopping win. The victory catapulted the Vols to a number 3 ranking and increased their college football playoff chances as well as their SEC football chances. As the season reaches its halfway mark, the Vols stand 6-0. Coach Trail, as the old saying goes, eventually every dog has his day. Well, after 15 long years, Tennessee finally got its day against Alabama, and Nick Saban, and the celebration was on.
Oh, gosh. Was the celebration
Yeah.
on. Holy cow.
Yeah.
I tell you what, that was as wild a game as I've ever seen. Most points scored. Both teams brought their offense, number 1 offense, to and a number 10 defense.
Right, they left their defenses at home.
Yeah,
they left them back in the dorm.
That was offensively, it was probably one of the best games I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Defensively, it could be the worst game I've ever seen. So, that's just the way it turned out.
Yep.
Just the way it was. The whole thing was.
Yeah, and Troy Provo O'Haron, if you've waited 15 years to beat Alabama, and you get everybody down on the field and you take the goalpost down and everything else, when you got 15 years to plan for something like that, it goes pretty good, doesn't it? Without a lot of preparation.
And so much got made of the goalpost, getting carried up the stands and whatnot. But as I was walking across the field to get to the media room, I looked up and Marcus was being carried out of the stadium too.
Yeah.
And so that was awesome. It was awesome to be a part of.
Hey, I had guys
really
from Indiana calling me. I mean, they were texting me and going, "Hey, we're Tennessee fans. We're Tennessee fans. Unbelievable. I had all that celebration and nobody got hurt. It was very organized. It was very peaceful. We liked all that." Said, "We're Tennessee fans. Who you got next?" Huh?
If you hit the lottery, it's one of those things. Everybody comes out of the woodwork wanting to congratulate you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I saw somebody last night at a restaurant, and he had a Tennessee sweatshirt on, and I said, is that the first time you wore that sweatshirt since 2005? And he says, I believe it is. I believe it is. Yeah, they're coming out everywhere now, huh? Every holler in the state, they're crawling out, huh?
Oh, yeah. I tell you what, that was I believe, the wildest game I've ever seen played.
Yeah.
And for Tennessee to come out on top, it was like I said, it's the best offensive game I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Sorriest defensive game I've ever seen.
Yeah, two spectrums right there.
Yeah, and it worked on both sides. You know,
and
two quarterbacks that probably in the top 5 quarterbacks in the country. You know, I mean, they were outstanding, both of them.
And we were talking about this, Marcus, before the show. Bryce Young was 35 for 52, 455 yards and 2 touchdowns, and I think they went over 500 yards in total offense. And Hendon Hooker was 21 for 30, 385 yards, 5 touchdowns, and Tennessee was over 400 yards. But the thing about it is nobody's talking about Bryce Young's performance, which was outstanding. They're talking about Hendon Hooker. That's what winning does for you right there. Because if that had been on the other side in Alabama, they'd been talking about Bryce Young after that football game and not Hendon Hooker. That's what winning does for you right there.
That's totally the difference, because if you put that up as if Tennessee loses that game, the thing they're talking about Hooker about is the fumble. They would be talking about the fumble on the goal line that gave Alabama the win, and he's not in the Heisman discussion at all.
Yeah. The other big story, Jalen Hyatt, 6 receptions, 207 yards and 5 touchdowns. Coach Trail, I guess we can say this, as open as he was all day long, we could have made a couple of those plays, couldn't we, at our age? Huh? Is that a fair assessment or not?
Yeah, I'll tell you what. He about had to have a coat on. He was outside by himself all the time. I mean, I've never seen defensive backs let the guy just run right by him. And they've
never changed it up.
I know.
Alabama never changed that secondary coverage the entire game. There was not one adjustment number one.
I believe after the guy got 3 touchdowns, I believe I'd put a man-to-man on him in a zone behind him.
And Coach Ossovet came here last week and said that's what Alabama was going to do. They're going to cover you one-on-one, and that's what they do. They're going to trust on their front 7 to get to the quarterback. They're going to cover you one-on-one in the back end. Well, they didn't get to the quarterback. And one-on-one didn't work against Jalen Hyatt because he was running by himself the entire night.
But
I've never if that's the game plan, if that's what you practice, then I guess you just got beat.
The only time they got dropped out of it was the last 2 plays where they went into that prevent defense, which let Tennessee easily get into the field goal range.
And that was it.
And Alabama's defense up until this game had not been all that bad.
They were 6th in the nation in total defense, 6th in the nation scoring defense.
Yeah, and the 5 touchdown by Jalen Hyatt, go back to that, is a new school record, and everybody's talking about that. Of course, when you got a guy like Hendon Hooker throwing you the ball, that didn't hurt you any either on the deal. But the biggest takeaways from the game are playoff hopes are still on the line. The SEC East is still on the line. The Georgia game now and the Kentucky game coming up become ultra important because teams are going to be more up for you now than they ever were. They're going to be shooting for you. And Hendon Hooker, all the talk as far as the leading candidate for the Heisman Trophy, which is on the table too. And so many things are there, so much excitement and so forth. But we talked about this on the show. If they go down to Georgia and they take care of business, you can rest assured that Alabama's not finished. They're not done, Coach Trail.
No.
They got work over there to do, but I think I look for them to win the West. And if Tennessee was to beat Georgia, and they would face Alabama in the SEC playoff or in the SEC championship game, and if they take both of those 2 teams to the playoffs, there's a chance they could meet again in the playoffs. We could see Alabama 2 more times. Does anybody's heart still have enough in it pumping for 2 more times with games like this, Marcus, or not? I don't know.
Well, the former Vol, who was the starting linebacker and pretty much was their only linebacker against Tennessee, Toto, he even called it out after the game. He said, we're going to see them again. He's a senior, so he wasn't talking in the future. I mean, he was talking this year.
Well, they're set up. They play Mississippi State today. They got Ole Miss and they got LSU.
Is there anybody more upset
they're
about
sort of like
Tennessee's win
Tennessee.
than Mississippi State?
They're sort of like Tennessee. They control their own destiny as far as winning the West. They've been there before, Bryce Young's going to put up points. Can these other teams put the points up that Alabama's offense? As long as he stays healthy, can they put up the points as Bryce
Mississippi State is in for a whooping today.
Yeah.
Because they were. Remember last year they were the game after the A&M loss, and they beat them by 40.
Yeah. I'm gonna put one. I'm gonna talk a little bit positive about the defense, because on Alabama's last drive, Coach Trail, they got the stop they needed to get. Yeah. Now, whether Alabama played that like they should have played it on that last drive, some people said, well, they should have ran the ball, not given Tennessee a chance there, maybe on a couple play. But what took that away is when they had the drop pass. Yep. When they had the drop pass, Tennessee would have had no time left. They would have probably ran the ball. They would have been on the 10 or 15-yard line. The guy had plenty of room to run. They would have let the clock expire and kicked the field goal. That catch right there, that guy was absolutely enormous in this football game. We were very fortunate.
Well, in a game like that, you could go back through it all the way to the first quarter and pick out plays that would have made a difference. Yeah. And I mean, that's football. That's football, because as a coach, you sit there and you watch and you see things that you could have done or should have done or all that. But it comes down, it's hard to coach a team when you're one-sided like it was. You know, I mean, it was offense, no defense. And, I mean, there's nothing there that you can hang your hat on that's going to make a difference. And like you say, the drop pass, these things like that in a game, you can go back and pick them out. But
Tennessee fumbling on the handoff.
Right.
Alabama trying to pick up the punt. I mean, there were some huge plays in the football game.
Still don't know what Quadarius Robinson was doing on that one.
I have no idea.
Is that the play where Saban completely lost his mind?
He thought the guy touched the ball. He thought the Alabama man touched the ball.
Which, I mean, I guess I understand, but boy, oh boy, I mean, that talk
he
about
was the only one who
blunder.
But there were 4 Tennessee players standing there. If he'd have touched the ball, they wouldn't have just be standing there looking at the football. They would have been on the ball.
Like I said, he was the only one that thought somebody touched that ball.
Yeah. I want to talk about something here. I want to talk a little bit about the well, first of all, Alabama was up 49-42 and was in control of this football game. And you think, well, some of the bonehead mistakes they made, as bad as they played on defense, and 17 penalties to go with all that, and you're ahead 49-42, that's almost unbelievable that you're in that situation. But putting that aside, I want to talk a little bit about the officiating. I hate to come down on officials, but if that was, you would have thought, Coach Trail, that would have been the best SEC officiating crew that they could send to this game. Those guys at times, I thought, look like Mo, Larry, and Curly out there. I mean, when you don't know what down it is, you're in trouble. Yeah. When you got to go to instant replay and spend 10 minutes to figure out if it's third down or fourth down, you must have been drinking before the game or something, because you are not there in the football game. Now the calls, I think, last year, Tennessee and Troy, you remember well, Mississippi, and there was a couple other games that we went back. We could go back and say, if we'd got this call there and we got this call here, we could have, maybe been 9-3 last year, but we didn't get them. Well, this year we're getting some of those calls. Yeah. And last Saturday, going back and looking at the football game, Tennessee got a horrible call there on the pass interference in the end zone. I think that was a horrible call, and that favored Alabama. But I want to talk about pass interference. That's what I want to talk about.
I don't know what it is.
49-42. Tennessee quarterback Hooker is rushed. He's going in the opposite direction. He throws the ball up pretty much for grabs. 2 Alabama defenders, a Tennessee defender. The Alabama defender has his left hand resting on the Tennessee player's back. The ball goes up, it's tipped, it's intercepted, and it runs down the sideline. That's big. That's the game. They throw the flag down there. And I'm going, I just feel like that interference, should it be reviewed? There's talk about it's so inconsistent. You saw the week before, Coach Trail, when Alabama was playing Texas A&M, the last play of the game, that defensive back for Alabama had his hand on that Alabama. He was draped on the guy down there on the end zone. From a coaching standpoint, address that. How do you coach your players if you get away with that one week and seem to think, well, that's okay within the rules, and you do the same thing the next week and it costs you a football game? How do you coach that? How do you react
Well,
to
you
that?
don't coach that. Yeah, I mean, how do you coach a missed call? I mean, I think there was no consistency in the officiating. There was no consistency whatsoever, and I thought that you get 17 penalties in a game. I think that's the most they've ever had.
Yeah.
And some of them I couldn't see when they called holding a couple of times there. I didn't see it, and they didn't run back, so I don't know who did what.
Yeah. Troy, in all justification to you fans, I think it needs to be called like it is, because I'm telling you, if that pass interference, if Tennessee was up 49-42 in that football game and they lost the game and that interference call was taken away, those mustard bottles would be coming out of the stand.
Yeah, sure.
I'm going to also tell you on that some late hits on Bryce Young, and also the targeting that they did not call. Now, on that play, you're saying, well, they reviewed it. They reviewed the targeting call. They said, no, it wasn't targeting. Looked like it on TV it was targeting. But you can't hit the quarterback's head. It's either got to be a personal foul penalty for hitting his head, or it's got to be a targeting call.
Right.
They went away with that with nothing. Well, there's more mustard bottles coming out on the field with that call. It's the inconsistency.
Yeah.
The inconsistency. Did you see any of that at all?
Yeah, I mean, I think you could look at those calls and say that, but I also think, like you said, like Tennessee was, the victim of a really bad pass interference call that cost them a touchdown. So I think it's even in that regard when you look at those pass interferences that they probably should have had their own interception, or Alabama. It's all kind of jumbled in my head at this point, but that pass interference call against Tennessee cost them a touchdown, whether it would have been for Alabama or Tennessee. Again, I can't remember, but and then obviously the other way around with Alabama's interception. So I think. Those two even out, and when you talk about targeting and all that stuff, that one's tough. And that one's always been the hardest call for me in all of sports, because you got grown 240-pound men running at each other. The job is to tackle people. From the time they're kids, their job is to tackle people, and then you tell them you can't tackle anymore.
I can't figure out pass interference. They run down the field, and one guy's got his arm on the other one and everything. It's not called.
Yep.
Then they come down the field, and another guy does the same thing, and it's called.
Yeah, it's the inconsistency.
It's kind of like holding, though.
Yeah.
But because what you do in the first quarter may get flagged in the third quarter, but that's also when you see that play over and you see those players walking back and you see them leaning over and talking to the official. They're working them the whole game. Hey, he was doing this. He was doing this. Watch this. Will you watch this next time?
Yep.
And if it's done right, you see a cumulative effect where, if he does it the next play, it may not have been as egregious as it was the play before, but you might get a makeup call.
Sure.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But
that's not the game, though.
No, but that's human nature.
I know.
There were some coaches. I think I listened to Saban a little bit last week they asked him about pass interference. He said, well, in the NFL, the guidelines are pretty clear.
Yeah.
What you can do and you can't do. Now, whether it's called or not, I don't know, but he says the guidelines are there. He said in college football, the guidelines aren't there like they need to be.
Right.
You can't coach what you need to be coaching because the guidelines are so kind of open as far as pass interference goes.
I think the 2018 Rams would completely disagree with that statement from Nick Saban, as their receiver was speared in the chest as the ball was floating toward him, and no call happened. The Saints lost that NFC Championship game because of it.
I understand what you're saying, but the guidelines, what he's saying, are the guidelines there where it's spelled out. Now, whether they make the call or not, that's a on-the-field decision. But he's saying in college football the guidelines are not there, and it's inconsistent.
It's two different approaches. The NCAA leaves interpretation to the officials to a greater degree than the NFL does. But the NFL is an example that even if you detail it out into however many pages it is now, we're still talking about it every week, where they're bringing it up and showing. One game, this is pass interference. This game over here, it's the exact same time. It is not.
And don't forget about it. Last year, the NFL said, hey, we're going to let you interview pass interference. And it was an unmitigated disaster. It extended games by an average of 15, 20 minutes. They were not reversing calls that were obvious pass interference. They were overturning calls that weren't pass. It was a disaster.
I would
disaster.
have much rather, in this game Saturday, as much as it went, I would much rather them have reviewed that pass interference on the goal line than review whether it was third down or fourth down for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
I agree.
I
agree.
Well, Mike, I think you're leaving one of the biggest questions on the table right here. After that game, does Tennessee now have to worry about Jalen Hyatt leaving early?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I've said this. I looked, just because I like to look at things like this. I looked. You can't get an odds on Jalen Hyatt winning the Heisman. And when you look at what Devontae Smith did a couple years ago and won the Heisman, I think he had 1,800 receiving yards, 23 touchdowns. At the current rate Jalen Hyatt's playing, they're looking to play 14 games. He's on pace for 1,500 yards and 24 touchdowns. So he doesn't have a single Heisman on him, but boy, is he having one heck of a year.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to make one more comment about officiating, and then I'm going to leave it because I know it's judgmental when you're out there on the field. In the football game, and this hadn't been talked about very much. Now, they've talked about the interception, and Tennessee's got the bad call in the end zone on a pass interference. Arguable. All of it's arguable. There was another call that I think was even bigger than that. Tennessee was running the football, and the guy was working for extra yards. His momentum was still going forward. They stripped the ball, and the whistle. They had blown the whistle. Forward progress had not been stopped, but they blew the whistle. Ball was stripped. That's another play. That happened right after we give the ball away on that fumble. That was the very next series. That guy was headed to the end zone on a play right there on an early whistle. It was a bunch. It was a fiasco. It was a bad.
I have never seen those officials
I don't like to criticize officials because they got a tough job. But in a game that mattered that most, I don't think it was a good performance.
I had never seen that referee before.
Yeah.
I don't know where he came from. Yeah. But I've never seen him. He's not a real standard guy.
Yeah.
And I'm not questioning his ability. I'm just questioning his calls.
Yeah. Well,
that I think that. And like I said, I'm not taking anybody's side here.
No, we're not taking sides. We're just saying what it was.
What it was.
Yeah, right.
And that you're supposed to call the game right off the bat. You should set what is a penalty and what is not. And if it's not, you don't call it.
I'm just saying, if that was Hendon Hooker on that targeting call.
Yeah.
If that was Tennessee that had intercepted that pass down there, leading 49, I'm telling you, mustard containers. And I was just sitting there and going, well, there's justification for that Mississippi call, that game called last year and how they felt. I mean, sooner or later, Marcus, in sports, it seems like everything, it all comes around. It comes around and it evens out, just like Troy just got done saying.
Yeah, it does. And just my gut takeaway, I haven't sat down and counted them, but it felt like the calls balanced out in this one. There were bad calls in both.
Yeah.
But it felt like this was a case where the bad calls kind of balanced out.
Yeah.
And the outcome of those bad calls balanced out.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the thing is, we shouldn't be talking like that for a game
that meant that much.
No, but in this day and age, I think that's what you count that as a positive because we've seen it.
Yeah.
We've seen it where that wasn't the case, where the bad call didn't balance out, and somebody lost a game they probably should have won.
Yep.
Well, Alabama had 17 calls against them in that game. I mean,
Alabama was sloppy in that
game. 17 calls. Yep. I never seen that before.
Yep. And on one drive, they had pass interference on a crucial.
Yeah.
Might have been that last drive by Tennessee to make it 49-49. They had 2 pass interference calls on a third and a fourth down on that drive. But anyway, you can go back to a lot of deals. You can go back to the 2-point conversion. How big was that 2-point conversion Tennessee made to make it 42-42? They don't get that. You're looking at 49-40, are you not?
Yep.
The way it worked.
One heck of a call from
I'm just saying,
Josh Heupel.
Everything kind of worked really nice.
And it's been that way for 2 weeks, Mike.
And-
We talked about that at LSU 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, when you go back and you look at Pittsburgh, we're on the ropes there. You looked at Florida, they got the onside kick. That
and
got
they
a
fumbled
little
the
dicey.
ball, too.
LSU, we blew them out, and then we had this one right here. Marcus, life is good right now.
It hasn't.
Huh?
We-
Life
I mean,
is good. This
we-
kind of reminds me of '98 when Syracuse.
Oh,
or
gosh,
when,
here we go.
Here we go.
There was 3 or 4. Well, Arkansas quarterback fumbled
Yeah.
the ball, and I mean,
Is there a wagon full of trumpet players outside?
I've seen these 1990. Feels like 1990. By golly, it sure does right now.
I mean,
Feel like
look,
1998.
we talked about, sometimes sports just kind of finding a way to even itself out. Tennessee's been through a lot in the last 20 years, and maybe this is just the 1 year where it said, hey, you deserve it. And I hate to say this because there's a lot of football left to be played. Obviously, next week against Kentucky's big. 2 weeks from now against Georgia's big. It is starting to feel like Tennessee might be that quote-unquote team of destiny.
Yeah, maybe.
You said the key part. There's a lot of football to be played, and I do not think you're going to see another secondary that's going to take that Alabama approach on Tennessee.
Probably wasn't smart.
And I'm not going to try to pump up Kentucky bigger than they are.
I'm not.
You're going to see a
South
much better
Carolina.
defensive effort out of Kentucky.
No.
And I do not think you're going to see Tennessee only have to punt one time in the football game
Yep.
against Kentucky.
I have no respect for a team that lost to South Carolina.
I want to make another point before we get out of here, Coach Trail. Back in our day, you were coaching over there. You had Auburn early. That set the stage. You had to beat Auburn to stay in the race. That was a real big football game.
Right.
Auburn. And Auburn was an outstanding team.
Oh, yeah.
They were as equal as Alabama at that time. And then you had Alabama. And the fans in football were saying, if you just beat Auburn and Alabama, I'll be satisfied. And in basketball back then with us, it was Kentucky. And it was Vanderbilt. And the fans would say, hey, if you just beat Kentucky and you just beat Vanderbilt, we'll be happy.
Yeah.
But, the thing about that is the coaching staff, and Heupel's done a tremendous job of keeping everybody focused over there. You can't let fans say, well, we beat Alabama because you haven't won anything yet. You haven't won the East. You haven't won the SEC championship, and you're not in the playoffs. You won a big game.
And it's not the
Pretty
same
much a
as it
big
was.
game.
Troy y'all brought up the 98 comparison. Back in those years, you had the Georgia-Florida test in September.
Early.
If you beat Alabama, the rest of the schedule was pretty easy going. That's not the case with this schedule.
Yeah.
You've got 2 big games still to play, and probably now the one that's going to be the biggest game to play.
Yeah.
Very important to mention that Marcus did pick Tennessee to go 5-7 this year. They did get their 6th win, so Marcus is out of contention. They went the win over.
Well, that's why he's a sports writer.
Yeah.
That's why I'm a veteran sports writer and not a current sports
And
writer.
we brought this scenario up with big games
Yeah.
and everything's based on winning championships and going to the tournament and so forth and so on. That's what you want. And we talked about this in baseball. What a great job the baseball team did because they didn't leave any doubts. They won the East, they won the SEC title, they went.
Then got beat.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of difference. You don't want to leave it on the table and go. You don't want to leave it at 11-1 and maybe get left out and go back and say, well, we beat Alabama, but we didn't win the East and we didn't have a chance to win the championship. And, we're coming along in football. Yeah. We're a lot better now and we've made great strides. You don't want that left after this great win. Does that make sense, Troy?
Yeah, it does. And I will say this, though. This city won't survive if Tennessee beats Georgia in 2 weeks.
Well, that's okay.
The city will not survive if Tennessee beats Georgia in 2 weeks.
That's perfectly okay because
they'll burn it to the ground.
Tennessee will send out a tweet to start another fundraising campaign to replace the city because they raised $160,000 to replace goalposts that they had in the basement in storage.
I hope that happens because if we can play Alabama in the championship game and play them in the playoffs again, what a great thing that'll be for college football.
It was such a fun game.
That way, then you can go back and say, well, we beat them 2 out of 3, or whatever. It'd be a great, and that I'm telling you, that's on the table, and that could happen.
It was just an absolutely classic football game. Yeah. It was so good to watch.
Yeah.
Oh, it was. If you're an offensive guy,
I'm an offensive guy.
Yeah. Well, I mean But then you look at the defense and say, my God, how did we give up that many points?
Well, one of your coaches hangs his hat on offense, and from that perspective, he's got to be happy. But the other coach is one who hangs his hat on defense, and you've got to think he's
I also
not
think one
happy.
of those things is like it's just two really good offenses. I mean, it's not like Tennessee's. Again, I hate to keep making these excuses for Tennessee's defense as if like the numbers aren't bad, but they got to Bryce Young a lot. Like a lot in
that's
that
a good
game,
point. We
and
didn't bring
Bryce
that up.
Young he made plays.
Alabama's
He made
touchdowns
plays.
were harder to make than Tennessee's touchdowns.
Yeah,
Let's
he
put
made
it
a
that
lot
way.
of plays.
Exactly.
And his Heisman hype might not be there, but his NFL
good.
draft stock
Yeah.
went up.
Oh, man, he's so good.
Being
That's a good
as
point.
elusive as he
Bryce
was,
Young.
Yeah.
Alabama's quarterback.
there were a lot of scouts up there
Oh,
saying
boy.
this guy can escape.
Hey, Donnie Moore's over here jumping up and down. We're way over, so we're going to have to get out of here. It's time to turn the page, and next up is the local scoreboard with Donnie Moore and Mark It Down featuring Marcus Fitzsimmons. You're listening to the Goatee Sports page, and now stay tuned for the best in local sports.
Make the big play with MVP Money Tools from Knoxville TVA Employees Credit Union. With KTVA ECUs, contactless debit card, direct deposits that hit up to 2 days early, credit cards that earn cashback reward points, and loans with competitive rates. Add all 4 MVP Money Tools to build your financial roster. It's everything you need to win financially.
Join us now.
Federally insured by NCUA. Equal Opportunity Housing Lender. Restrictions may apply. Call for details. 800-467-5427.
Since 1925, Anderson Lumber in Alcoa has proudly served and supported our local communities. But did you know Anderson Lumber is so much more than a lumber store? You can stop in anytime and see our incredible kitchen showroom. From floors to cabinets and everything in between, Anderson Lumber's experts can help you design your dream kitchen. And then our install team will make it a reality.
Wow.
For anything home, we welcome you to visit Anderson Lumber in Alcoa or shop over 67,000 items online at AndersonLumberCompany.com. Anderson Lumber, since 1925.
Aubrey's is known for real comfort, real food, real good. But remember, Aubrey's is also really into Blount County. Aubrey's Maryville has been a strong supporter of local schools and sports programs for more than 15 years. From baseball to football, dance teams, and marching bands, Aubrey's has helped schools and youth programs generate thousands of dollars. It's easy for us to do because it's the right thing to do. So the next time you're looking to choose a place to eat, we hope you'll choose Aubrey's. Real comfort, real food, real good. See what's on the menu at aubreysrestaurants.com.
We all want our loved ones to be safe. Denso in Maryville is at the forefront of creating technology for safer vehicles. Join the automotive industry with Denso in a fast, challenging, clean, and safe environment. They offer great benefits and competitive pay, as well as a convenient on-site healthcare facility, cafes, fitness center, and more. Start your future now. Entry-level production positions start at $16 an hour for second or third shift. Visit densocareers.com/Maryville to learn more and apply. Merlin's Music World in Maryville is owned and operated by Dylan Davis and has been a fixture in Maryville since 1987. Guitars, amplifiers, lessons, sound system, and video system installations are products available at Merlin's. Merlin's also offers a 24-track digital recording studio featuring audio engineer Rusty Chambers. Visit Merlin's at 1920 East Lamar Alexander Parkway or call 977-0093. The Blue Tick Tavern is home to the tastiest pizza in Blount County. Try our signature Broadway barbecue pizza, grilled chicken and red onions covered in mounds of mozzarella. Or sink your teeth into our one-of-a-kind chicken and bacon pizza, made with an olive oil base, grilled chicken, bacon, red onions, and covered in Brussels petals. The Blue Tick Tavern also has salads, sandwiches, and the area's largest beer selection. Regularly recognized as the best pizza in Blount County, it's the Blue Tick Tavern, located at 128 West Broadway in downtown Maryville.
Welcome back to the Blue Tick Tavern in downtown Maryville. This is Mike Edwards along with the rest of our broadcast crew, and now it's time for the local scoreboard, sponsored by Mandy B. Street Realty. Donnie Moore, golly, it was a pretty rough night last night for some of the local teams in football, huh?
Well, it was, Mike. Week 10 underway last night. Can you believe the regular season football season is just in the books almost.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, Indiana started their playoffs last night. Everybody's in the playoffs. They played 9 regular season games, and then they had the play. And my hometown, Greenfield Central, run their first game last night in the playoffs. Beat Pendleton High. They've had a pretty good football season up there at Greenfield. So
good for them.
I know nobody knows where Greenfield is,
you're
but
proud of Greenfield.
They had a big night last night.
Good deal. Good deal. Well, let's start with our local scoreboard last night. Alcoa hosted Tyner Academy. There was 2 number 1 football teams ranked in the state. Tyner at number 1 in Class 2A. They had only had 20 points scored against them all season long. Wow. So Alcoa, of course, number 1 ranked in the Class 3A. And it was a good football game for a half. Yeah. 7-0 Alcoa at the half.
I think you could take it to probably the second series of the third quarter before things broke open.
It did. You're right. Second series of the third quarter. You just about nailed it right there, Marcus. But then Alcoa's superior depth took over, and they wore down the Rams and ended up winning that one 42-20. You could see that depth taking effect and taking its toll on the Rams. The Rams got rammed.
You could see. I think you could see it late, but I think Troy's guys did a pretty good job this morning highlighting this. Was, you start the second half, you give up a score, you turn the ball over, and suddenly you're in a very different game. And Alcoa could very easily have been down at that point and gone down by 7.
Yeah.
Instead, they take the ball back. They force another turnover, get the ball back, go down and march it down the field. And you could feel everything in that game shifted with that series. And I think that was when Alcoa said, "You're in a ball game," because at that point, those running backs would not be tackled on that drive, and that was how it went the rest of the half.
Right. Elijah Cannon was major last night in that series too. In that game, they keyed on Jordan Harris. Jordan Harris, he broke a run or two later in the game, but those guys, they had a linebacker named Chubb, and I guarantee you he keyed on Jordan Harris. That was his assignment last night. He wouldn't let Jordan Harris break anything early in the game, but Elijah Cannon. He made some major runs, and he's a powerful runner, and he carried Alcoa for a major portion of the game last night in the running game.
And anyway, it was a 42-20. It was a great win for Alcoa, and a really good statement win over a very good Tyner team.
Tyner's a good team. They really are, and they're likely to bring home a gold ball in Class 2A.
And I think that we have some other teams playing, some people who might be bringing home gold balls.
You're right about that, too. Moving on down the line, Greenback absolutely slaughtered Midway last night, 53, shut them out 53-0. So congratulations to the Cherokees on a great win last night. Heritage traveled to Lenoir City last night, and Lenoir City was not kind to the Mountaineers. Coach Ossovet will not. I'm sure was not happy with that performance by the Mountaineers, but Lenoir City won that game 38-21. Was not a great victory. Well, great victory for Lenoir City, you can say, but Heritage scored 3 touchdowns in that win for the Lenoir City squad. But 38-21, Lenoir City last night.
Well, he said that Lenoir City had been playing better football,
and they have.
So he was on the show last week.
They came out on top. Yeah. Be interesting to hear what he has to say about that one. Maryville traveled to West last night in the Clash of the Titans.
Hey, I told you we were going to talk about gold balls.
Yeah, indeed we are. And there's another one that probably will bring home a gold ball. The West Rebels win that contest 31-18 over Maryville. West is a juggernaut.
Well, they've won Blount County now, Marcus. They've beaten Alcoa and Maryville.
Yeah, and you've got to say, if you've beaten those two guys in your regular season, you're looking very good for your state championship hopes.
You sure are.
I'll give Maryville some props. I mean, this was an 18-24 game, and Maryville was driving for the go-ahead score in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And you have an unfortunate series of events there. The ball goes open, West takes it the other way, and you end up with that differential of a 13-point. But this was a game Maryville was in when people were talking about them being blown out in this game.
No, absolutely not.
But so Maryville was in this at West up until probably 6 minutes to go.
Mm-hmm.
So this was a very winnable game, and I think that says a lot about how they bounced back because there's been doubts. I mean, we don't doubt Derek, but there's been some doubts as to how good Maryville was this year.
Absolutely.
And I don't think anybody's played West that close this year. I don't think anybody's been within shouting distance of them this year.
Yeah, of course.
Except maybe Alcoa was, but
beat Alcoa by 3.
But they were still up.
Right. And you're right. West quite likely could bring home the 5A gold ball.
I don't see anybody in 5A that's going to stop them.
I don't either. Kings Academy hosted Webb Bell Buckle last night.
Throw in the mascot there.
I don't know.
Oh, you don't know?
I don't know. What is their
Webb Bell Buckle feet?
The feet. That's the
feet.
Webb feet. That's right. Yeah,
and they were stinky
I did
last
know that.
night.
And they did. They had some. They had some toe jam right there, didn't they? But Webb got beat. Their feet got beat by Kings Academy 54-38. Shootout over TKA. So congratulations to Kings Academy. And over at William Blount last night, it was Ray. What is it? The Battle of what?
I don't know.
Both of them were 0-8.
Oh gosh. Oh.
So I know what you call it, the Battle of the Mullets.
That's
the way
it.
you describe
the
that.
Mullets.
Battle of the Mullets. William Blount, Hardin Valley. Somebody was going to walk out of there with a win last night, and indeed Hardin Valley did walk out of there with a win, 42-25 versus William Blount last night. Mike, you watched the game.
I did. A lot of scoring.
A lot of scoring. You said
a lot of scoring.
William Blount just couldn't stop the run.
Could not stop the run. Could not stop the run. Hardin Valley pretty well ran the football at will. There were some spots where William Blount played pretty well. Their quarterback threw some nice balls last night, but just could not stop the run from anywhere on the field.
Well, I hate that for the Govs, but Hardin Valley, I'm sure they celebrated after that win. So.
They got a one-game winning streak going into the last game of the year. They can win another one. I think
exactly.
William Blount's got to travel up with Moortown East. I think it's Morristown East.
I think Moortown East is their next game. Well, moving on, that's your football scores. Soccer, Thursday evening, Region 1A championship at Alcoa. Alcoa shut out University High 1-0. In the Region 1A championship, the Lady T's host Loudon today in the sectional action. So congratulations to the Lady T's and good luck to them. In the Region 2 AA championship on Thursday, Seymour put in 5 goals against Neal for Halls. So the Lady Eagles host Tennessee High today in sectional action. So congratulations to Seymour, Marcus.
Hey, that AstroTurf is playing off for them. The program's been good for a while.
It has. They've had a good soccer
Lady
program.
Eagles a lot of credit for that. Because I think they're playing for maybe their 4th trip to state in the last 8 years. I mean, they've been pretty consistent about having a good program, being able to get there, and I think that speaks to a lot of the strength of that AYSO program they've got in Seymour.
Yes. Well, unfortunately, in volleyball, the Class AAA state tournament in Murfreesboro, the Hillsboro Jennies.
The what?
The Hillsboro Jennies. They're the Burrows. Their program is the Burrows. So a female Burrow is a Jenny.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah, the Hillsboro Jennies.
Had me there. They have you on that one, Trail?
I didn't really get that first one.
You listen to this program long enough, you learn something.
You learn a few things, don't you?
Finally learned something.
But Hillsboro.
Can we apply for educational PBS funding?
Yeah. Hillsboro rudely ended the season for the Lady Rebels after 2 great sets from Maryville. Maryville won the first 2 sets, 15-25, 25-15, and 25-8. But then Hillsboro came back and won the last 3 sets, 26-24, 25-23, and 15-10 to end Maryville's season in the state tournament. So they had a good season.
Just really rallied because Maryville had just had their way with them for 2 sets. And
and so I mean, they flipped the
so
switch
great
somewhere.
Great effort for them.
It was.
But it was also a really good season for Maryville. I know they're disappointed they didn't get a couple more games in and make it all the way up to that championship match. But they've consistently gotten a bad draw at state. They keep running into the same teams, and you're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to see the same person in the same game consecutive years. That's just very odd.
It is odd. It is. Well, that's all I've got for the local scoreboard. Now, you're listening to WKCE 105.1 FM and 1180 AM, Mid-Century Radio. And now I'm going to throw it to veteran sports writer Marcus Fitzsimmons for his feature, Mark It Down.
Yeah, and if you're watching the live stream, you just saw the abrupt camera change because Troy's not on the control box and I don't know what I'm doing. But you just saw our smiling faces go away and some people you might want to look at. We have the Maryville College men's basketball team in this morning, and Coach Raul Placeres has brought a couple of the Scots, and I think we're on a short clock because I'm betting they all have stuff to do for homecoming later today. So we appreciate you guys making the time to come over. Coach, do a quick introduction and kind of point out who we got here this morning.
Well, we got Cordell Kay, Bearden High School product, state champion, won a state championship his senior year. Been a 4-year player for us. We won a couple of conference championships with him here. Neuroscience major, one of our highest GPAs on our team. Doing a fantastic job for us as a senior and getting us ready for the season. Next to him is Miles Raznick, another local product from Knoxville Webb. Was all conference first team the last 2 years. Was defensive player of the year in our conference. Was all South region. Looking forward to a really good year from him, and again, really proud of his efforts as a captain and a leader of this basketball team. And to my left, my right, depending on where the camera's at, Charlie Cochran, Louisville, Kentucky native, played at East Texas Baptist. He's a transfer for us. Was all league in that conference. Been a very successful Division III player, and we really like his 6'7", 230-pound frame, and he's really acclimated himself really good with our group. So, these three guys will be pivotal to our team this season and our success.
Yeah, I guess you'll have to explain that. I'm not sure if 6'7" and 230. Well, what does that bring for a program?
Hopefully he's tough. He's so far so good. He can, both him and Cordell give opposing teams trouble because they both can score inside and out, and that really opens up our offensive game for our team. So yeah, both of these guys will be pivotal for our success.
Well, y'all are in the early starts of the practice, getting ready to head into the season. Really good points out of last year. Didn't end the way y'all wanted. What was the focus this offseason? What was it you had in your notebook for what this team needed to do in the offseason?
Just got to get better. It's kind of tough to say, hey man, we didn't end it the right way. We ended up 20-4, and we were 18-1 at one point, which is the best starting program history. And we've had some really good teams in a long tradition of winning in our program. So it was a fantastic year. We just had a bad last week of the season, and we talked about it earlier in our initial meeting to start practice. And hopefully that bad taste in our mouth of not being able to get to an NCAA tournament, even with a 20-4 record and playing a really tough schedule. We're ready for the challenges of this year, the challenging schedule that we've put together, and hopefully gives us a chance to compete for another conference championship and an opportunity to get to the NCAA tournament.
You had the highest national ranking in the polls that Maryville College has ever had. And then I'll turn around and look at some of the notes Troy's been putting out. Very good recruiting class. Do those two things kind of go hand in hand?
Yeah, I think the more, we got to go to Las Vegas for a national tournament last year. That was really good for us. We beat a team from from Washington, and then we played the University of Chicago, prestigious institution, and we came out on top in both of those. And that led to, we're going to Mount Union this year for a tournament, which is a big tournament. We're going to Wabash, who went to the Final Four this past season. We're going to that tournament at the Great Lakes, which is an invitation-only tournament. We're playing the national champions at their place in Randolph-Macon. We're going down to Daytona Beach for a big tournament, on the beach. These guys are excited. We're going to go to Universal Studios and stay on the beach and going to have a good time for 4 or 5 days. But we're also playing a good team from Wisconsin and a team from Washington, D.C. Our non-conference schedule, 8 of the 13 teams are national tournament teams from this past season, and one of them being a Final Four and the other one being a national champion. If we want to accomplish the things that these guys talk about, that ultimate goal of being at a Final Four and competing for a national championship, you got to play the best teams in the country, and that's what we're trying to do. Yes, it helped with the freshman recruiting class. A lot of local guys. See, that's something that has been missing a little bit. It hasn't been as cool to come to Maryville College as a Division III program for some of these local products, but when you got guys like this who have been very successful here locally and they take the chance to come get a good education, get a good college experience, win a lot, it's really opened the doors to some of these really good basketball players that we have in town to stay home and play in front of their parents and their community and really help us with continuing to push our program.
Well, Miles, I'll put you on the spot here a little bit. Coach, you're talking about the schedule, and it's a good one. How's the team feel about this? I mean, y'all are going to be in the spotlight with some big games.
I think we're ready for it. Like Coach said, we want to play the best, and we want to hopefully end up in the Final Four and make it to a national championship. And to do that, you got to play the best, and you got to test yourself. So we're really looking forward to playing all the best teams and hopefully ending up back in the tournament. So, yeah.
And, you Coach kind of mentioned you had defensive player honors. Is it when you see guys like this and some of that talent, is that an inspiration? Like when you're putting in that work in the offseason, can you think ahead, I'm going to have to stop these guys coming up?
Yeah, for sure. Winning an award like that, it comes with a little bit of pressure, I guess, going into the next season because, some people are looking at you saying like, oh, this is the guy that's, you got to key in on him. But at the same time, it's something that every player wants. You want to be the best player, and you like seeing that all the hard work that you put in paid off. So, just going into the next season, I know I just got to keep doing the same stuff, and it kind of drives me a little more that we didn't end the way that I wanted to last year. So that was kind of the main motivating factor into this season.
Well, I'll ask our other veteran here. You kind of touched on it. What did you all do after this season was over? Because Coach kind of mentioned it, like you all were at a real peak, like 2 weeks before the season ended, and then things didn't go the way you wanted. How did you all kind of bounce back from that going into the off season?
We just regrouped. The off season and the ending of last year, a lot of things changed. A lot of the faces on the team changed, and the core that remained really just stuck together. And we didn't dwell on it much. We just went to the new faces and started getting used to it because there's really no point looking at the end of last season because it didn't mean much in the sense of we have a whole new year to get ahead of and new faces to bring in, new faces to get used to it so we could do more than we did last year.
When you mentioned a little bit of some of the core changing, some of the transition that goes on. Did it feel good to get on the court and officially start practice and see all these guys officially out there playing together?
Yeah, I mean, it's not as much of a difference. I think this program's really good about getting the group together early. We already knew each other. We'd already been playing together. This group likes to get out and go play. So being on the court officially is just nice because the season's actually here. But as far as being with the new group, we're a good group about having that happen early on. Most of the teams together over summer, and as soon as everyone's on campus, we're all getting after it.
And then we got to ask this question. East, coming from Texas, how do you end up in Maryville College? There's got to be a story as to how you end up in Maryville.
It can be long, but it can be short. So my career in Texas was a good career, and then last year I suffered like an injury, and also being from Kentucky, Texas is like, 13-14 hours from my house, and I'm a big family person. And this transfer from here was like the coaching and the players and the fact that they have a winning history. I really wanted to come into a program that like loved to win and loved to grind every day and have a better team.
Coach, I'm going to turn back to you on the schedule. One thing we didn't touch on is it's technically a whole new schedule with some familiar faces because it's a new conference and a new day and a whole bunch of firsts. And, you've been a part of the program when it's been here and done that before with joining the USA South and when it was in the Great South. does that change it? Has any real changes because you don't have to play so many conference games?
No, man. The only change is that they replaced Brevard, which is a 2.5-hour trip, with Belhaven, Mississippi. So now we're going to have to be on a bus for 9 hours. So, I'm not real tickled and happy about that. But, it is what it is. It's the same conference, same type of opponents that we've had in the past in the great, in the Great South and the USA South. So not much change. It's a good thing. Conference is starting up. Could we be the first team to win the first regular season conference tournament championship in the league's history? That'd be a nice feather in our cap. We've been able to do it in every conference that we've been in. When we started the Great South, we won 9 out of those 12, and we won more conference and regular season championships than anyone in the USA South in the 10 years that we were there in that league. So hopefully we can continue that tradition of winning and excellence in this new conference.
But you get some of those same faces because you still got a Huntington, you still got a LaGrange, you still got Piedmont sitting around out there. It's some of these guys that and some of these coaches real well, and there's keeping those rivalries intact even with the change of conference. It's better than just going in on your own, I guess.
Yeah, and I like it. I like the format in regards to having doubleheaders now with our women and us. It gives good you have good crowds. There's good rivalries on both sides, women and men. So in regards to that, I like the new conference feel to that. And but it's same order of business, man. You got to have a tough non-conference schedule, which we're doing. We have to be successful in it, and you got to take care of your business in conference if you're going to give yourself a chance to get to the national tournament. So same old thing.
Well, you gave us a kind of a broad overview. How is the season going to start? What's the first test up?
First test, November 9th at home against Sewanee. We played them last year, beat them at their place, but they bring everyone back this year, and I think they'll be a little bit better. And then play on a Wednesday, get on a bus at 8 o'clock in the morning on Thursday, and we head up to Mount Union, where we'll play Mount Union, who was an NCAA tournament team and won 20-plus games. You got Whitworth from California. Also in that tournament, you got Roanoke. So you got 4 potential teams that could be in the top 25 when the rankings come out next week. So, we get going really, really quickly. But we're excited. The kids are working hard. We started last Saturday, so we've had about 5-6 practices under our belt. Older guys doing a good job of incorporating the young guys, and the young guys learning, to lean on the shoulders of these older guys who've done it at a high clip and at a high level. So just looking forward to the season.
Well, that opens the door for me to ask a couple of questions of these old guys that you're mentioning. How does the team work with the new guys when the freshmen come in? Do you all meet them when they move in? Do you help them move in? What's the process for meeting these new guys and getting them incorporated?
So it's good this year because we got a lot of local guys. So me being local and Cordell being local, we got to meet everybody because we all live probably 30, 20 minutes away from each other. So we could all get in the gym together and work. But, with other guys, we have a team camp in the summer. And so they'll come travel up and they'll help with the camp. And we all get to meet each other there. So it's just that camp is really like the main week in the summer that we get to, actually be together in person. But besides that, this year is a little different because, like I said, we got a lot of local guys. So we've kind of been able to mesh and bond throughout the summer because we all live near each other, which has been really good.
And I guess the other one is the program has a strong tradition. It's got a lot of things, and you've got a coach who was a player at one point. Does that put the leadership roles? Do you all have like the kind of a thing where the expectations are and how you pass those along to the new players?
Yeah, you can go ahead, Cordell. Go ahead.
I mean, yes and no. I think just the expectation is lead by example, do what the program expects. As a leader, you kind of just have to do everything that no one else wants to do, and hopefully they see that. We don't really have a you do this, you do that thing. It's just you be a leader and do things the right way, the way that you know how to do them.
Well, I'm gonna close the player questions with this one. These long bus trips and long trips that y'all got planned, given what goes on at Maryville College and the academic expectations that are maintained, those have got to be interesting ways to study. You've got to come up with some creative ways to get stuff done, I would suspect.
Yeah, it sucks. Most of the time I just get sick to my stomach, but you either have to have a good laptop with a personal hotspot or something downloaded that you can work on if you're really trying to do stuff, or you just say, I'll do it at the hotel and I'll nap now. That's pretty much how I go about it.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
Yeah, it's tough, but it's it's what comes with playing a sport in college, so we signed up for it.
Well, Coach, it sounds like you got a good crew. We're have some high expectations now for you, so we'll try to make a deal with you. If you can try to make a break, maybe we can do like a pre-NCAA tournament type visit with us, or y'all can come and let us know what's going on. But you're going to have to win your way back on the show. How does that sound?
That sounds like a challenge. That's something that we will definitely take. You know, there's so much stuff that we have to take care of before we even start talking about those things, and that's kind of what we spoke at our first team meeting. We know what our goals are. We know what we want to do as a team. Results take care of themselves. That happens organically when you do things the right way, and that's all we want to do. We got 3 things that I want to share. We want to be competitive in everything we do, and that's what we're pushing to all these guys, the old guys, the new guys. You got to be a great teammate. That's a non-negotiable, right? And then the last thing, when the opportunity presents itself, you have to produce. We recruit, right, at the levels that we recruit at our level, and we get really good players. If you're not doing your job, next man up, and that's life. And that's what we're trying to preach to our guys every single day. We take care of those 3 things, good things will happen for our program and where we end up as a team. So, man, we're looking forward to the challenges. I got 3 good ones right here next to me that we're going to go to battle together. And I'm looking forward to, getting to work in our first scrimmage in a week from today. So that, I'm excited about that. We're going down to Atlanta, going to go scrimmage Oglethorpe and, get going on the 9th. And our other scrimmage going to MTSU again. That's a thing that we've been doing every year. We play a Division I program every year, and it gives these guys an opportunity to play on ESPN, and great memories for them and their program. Charlie hasn't done it yet with us, so he's going to be having to guard some 6'10", 6'11" guys on the block. So
gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah, got to do what you got to do. But no, appreciate it. Hey, if we're back here again, that means we're doing some good things. So we look forward to it.
All right, we appreciate it. We're going to wish you all the best of luck. And if you get the chance, you can go on over to the Cooper Center and watch the Scots play, catch that opener on the 9th. Coach?
All right, I got a couple of questions before we get out of here for you. Emory and Henry College.
Emory and Henry.
Emory and Henry, who's been on Maryville's schedule for years, has moved up.
Mm-hmm.
The school's comparable to Maryville College. Do you think that in the future that'd be on the table at Maryville College
I don't
not?
know. I guess that's a question for the higher ups to determine that. Of course, I would like something like that to happen because it gives you, a better opportunity to be able to recruit even better than we do now with a little bit more funds. But everything comes down to money, and as you well know, Emory and Henry has made that move, but they're going to be at the lowest point in that league because they're not going to be able to give the 8, 9, 10 scholarships that those other schools are giving. So it's going to take them some time. But it would be nice, but we have a good situation with what we're doing.
How about Division III players? Are they allowed to do NIL deals?
They are. We actually joke around one of our junior transfers. We got 2 Division I transfers in Miles and Chase Ridenauer, who's also a Knoxville product. Chase got a Papa John's deal here in town. So he got to show his pretty face and show a pizza box, which was empty, but didn't have any pizza. Can't even hook us up with any pizza, but he got a little bit of a deal. But, yeah, they can. They can if they do. But as you well know, that's more reserved for the highest levels of college athletics.
Yeah. So we could go recruit at the college for a spokesman with an NIL. To
hey, if you guys want to sponsor any of these guys who has a sports page, we'll definitely take it.
Coach, thanks for coming by this morning. Always great to see you, and good luck to you in your season coming
Appreciate
up.
you guys having us on.
Hey, we'll take a timeout here, and when we return, Daily Times sports editor Troy Provo-Heron presents the Anderson Lumber Company Player of the Week segment. You're listening to the GoTee Sports Page, Blount County Sports Voice, and now stay tuned for the best in local sports.
The Roger L. Newman Company began in 1984 with a vision of providing Blount County with excellent heating and cooling service. Mr. Newman also wanted a real business. No gimmicks and no high-pressure sales. They just fix it or replace it. They want to stay within your budget and make you comfortable. Their motto still stands true today. Call us first, we'll be there. Call Roger L. Newman Company at 982-5446 or visit online at rogerlnewman.com. Cooler temperatures are approaching. Upgrade your furnace now for as little as $50 a month.
Your newspaper? That's right. The Daily Times is your newspaper, tailored to where you live, emphasizing the things that affect you and keeping track of the people and players in our community. The award-winning Daily Times can be delivered each morning right to your door or inbox with the latest in local news and sports. For a 30-day free trial offer, call 981-1100 and begin enjoying your life, your times, every day with the Daily Times.
Dunkin' has what you need to conquer the day. So if you want to go from, I don't got this, to, I got this, well, then get this. A bold, smooth espresso drink from Dunkin'. Like a layered velvety caramel macchiato, a rich chocolatey mocha latte, or a creamy non-dairy oat milk latte. Because this day isn't going to conquer itself. No, you're going to do that. Take a sip of You Got This with Dunkin' Espresso drinks. Order ahead on the app plus earn rewards. America runs on Dunkin'. Price and participation may vary.
For over 50 years and 3 generations, the people of Blount County have trusted Stevenson Tire with their vehicles and their families. Our mission has always been simple: to provide quality products at reasonable prices with exceptional customer service. Featuring tire products from Michelin, BF Goodrich, Uniroyal, Bridgestone, Firestone, and Yokohama, Stevenson Tire also offers alignment and brake services at affordable prices. Stevenson Tire Company, 2411 East Broadway Avenue in Maryville. Call 983-1621 or online at stevensonTire.net. Waters Equipment is your East Tennessee New Holland agriculture and construction dealer. Waters Equipment has been serving Blount County for 48 years and has 2 locations in Maryville for sales and service for New Holland equipment. Offering shop and field service for trucks and equipment of all brands, Waters offers equipment rentals for New Holland skid steer, Mini X, and tractors. Call 238-9000 for your rental needs. That's 238-9000. Waters Equipment New Holland. Excellence in service.
Since 1925, Anderson Lumber in Alcoa has proudly served and supported our local communities. But did you know Anderson Lumber? Since 1925, Anderson Lumber in Alcoa has proudly served and supported our local communities. But did you know Anderson Lumber is so much more than a lumber store? You can stop in anytime and see our incredible kitchen showroom. From floors to cabinets and everything in between, Anderson Lumber's experts can help you design your dream kitchen. And then our install team will make it a reality. Wow. For anything home, we welcome you to visit Anderson Lumber in Alcoa or shop over 67,000 items online at AndersonLumberCompany.com. Anderson Lumber, since 1925.
Welcome back to the Blue Tick Tavern in downtown Maryville. This is Mike Edwards, and it's time for the Anderson Lumber Company Player of the Week segment, featuring Daily Times sports editor Troy Provo-Hair. And Troy, this has been an exciting show this morning. It's always easier to have a show when after a great win like Tennessee had in football. You could just go on and on about that all morning long. But we've got another sport coming around the corner over there, which is basketball, and there's a lot of excitement in that regard also. And we've been talking with Coach Placeres here at Maryville College. There's a lot of excitement there in basketball, but it's right around the corner, isn't it?
Yeah, and Coach Placeres is going to stick around with us and talk about some Tennessee basketball here. I know they just had their little Market Square midnight hoops thing. That was fun, and Coach has actually seen them practice, which is more than I've done because I've been horrible at my job. So, Coach, I do want to take the time. Preseason number 11 team in the country, obviously. Maybe a disappointing end to what Tennessee fans probably think happened last year. We talked about this a lot, though, when we talked a couple days ago, just about people don't realize how hard it is to win in the NCAA tournament. But number 11, just kind of your overall thoughts about what this Tennessee team you think they can accomplish this year.
Yeah, you know, the great thing that Coach Barnes has done is you know, just the consistency of winning and the consistency of his recruiting classes year in and year out. You know, guys, it's really hard to win at the national level, and I know that's what you get, I guess, graded on, or that's the final say-so on how your year went. But for a team who won an SEC championship, for the first time in a while, and doing it the way that they did it in a dominating fashion, it leads to another good year with another solid recruiting class and some experienced veterans coming back on their ball club, and and I think the national number 11 ranking is very accepting. I think it's one that they have earned, and I can see them being there when it's all said and done again, competing for a conference championship and another hopefully deep run in the NCAA tournament.
Mike, you're a Tennessee basketball alum. I'm just wondering kind of what is your expectation for the season?
Well, you're seeing some of the same teams there. You got Kentucky, in there at number 4, and everybody year in and year out got them usually in the top 5, and they seem to be loaded again. And then you got Arkansas at number 10. Then, of course, Tennessee's 11, and there's Auburn again with Bruce Pearl at number 13 and Alabama at number 20. So, to me, it looks like a pretty competitive conference again. It shows well for the Southeastern Conference, and Coach Placeris, back in the days that I played over there, back in the early 70s, there was Tennessee, there was Vanderbilt, and there was Kentucky, and then Alabama, started to go into the picture. But this league now, from top to bottom, it's a whole different ball game.
It sure is, and a lot of it has to do with the ability of the coaching staff that these universities have been able to, hire and put together. You have one of, I think it's the deepest league in the country in regards to high-level coaches, and I think that makes it for a great league. And you're seeing the same on the football side of it, right? The best of the best are in that league, so it makes for a fantastic season in the SEC.
Yeah, on the Tennessee program right now, by golly, they look to be much stronger, in my opinion, going into this year than they were last year when they won the league. Kamwa's back. He wasn't there. He was injured last year, and he's back. And then you've got, solid at point guard. You're solid at the wings. You got your shooters. And by golly, they got to be excited about this club if they can all mesh and play together. And I'm looking for big things out of them.
Yeah, I think, you add Josiah and you add, I think Josiah is the key to all this because he can play multiple positions. And I think this is his time now to really shine as an offensive player and an option. He's been more of a guy who's a kind of a Swiss Army knife. He does a little bit of everything. But now, he's going to be a guy that has to be a guy every night. But you're right. With the 5-star guy that they just hired, they just signed, and everyone they have coming back, it as a former player, leadership is really important, and I think they have that as a team.
Yeah, and you're going down to Oglethorpe. They've had a fine program. You're going down there for a scrimmage game, and something that I've seen here, and I assume a lot of other schools are starting to do that, is they're starting to have these scrimmages. Yeah. Tennessee's going to play Gonzaga, and they're going to play Michigan State. Mm-hmm. By golly, there's 2 good programs right there that can get you ready for the season.
And that's why, people have to put things in perspective, too. Like what Coach Barnes has done here, after we had the Bruce Pearl era, that was one of the best eras we've had here in a while, and then we had Konzo, and they went to the Sweet 16. Barnes got here, and it kept moving on. And you got to give him credit for that, in everything, not just scheduling, recruiting, winning, and winning consistently. So it's exciting times here. What a great time here in East Tennessee to have so many teams at the university doing as well as they're doing. Baseball team nationally ranked, hopefully have another good year. Yeah. Football team, we're there, and here we go with basketball.
Coach Trail and I were talking about this last week. Back in the 70s, they had the all-sports trophy. We were strong in basketball, we were strong in football, swimming, track and field, baseball. I don't think this program has ever reached the level that it was in the 70s until right now. This is rivaling, I think, Coach Trail, what we saw back in our day in all the sports, don't you, here at the university?
Oh, yeah. I think they've done a great job at the university of building these programs and giving them what they need to compete on the top level. And I congratulate the whole outfit over there because they all, when they go on the field, they represent Tennessee, and they do it in a great way. And it seems like the pride is kind of coming through in all sports. I mean, when we were over there, Chuck Rowe was the track coach, and I mean we won everything in track. I mean we had all the top stars and you know, Mears in basketball, and we just had everybody doing their thing, and I think you know the football doing what they're doing helps everybody else. You know, everybody, you know, moves up a little notch. You know, you keep thinking, you know, they getting all the publicity. We got to go to work here. Yep. And I think that's a great thing for the program. Yeah. When you get all your programs kind of going, it pulls everybody along.
Exactly. Coach Placeris, if you're Coach Barnes over there going into this year, knowing what you got, coming back and being the Southeastern Conference champion, what's your biggest worry?
I've watched them practice, and, you know, like anyone can come to my practice and dissect my team. My worry for them is outside shooting. I don't know perimeter-wise if they shoot it at a high clip. But I think the style of play with their defense, you know, there's going to be a lot of, in my opinion, a lot of low-scoring games, and defense is going to have to pull them through. Yeah, that would be my concern. You know, he has really talented post players, but talented post players are not real offensive threats, so they're going to have to really rely on their perimeter play to get them through, you know, the tough non-conference schedule they have, and obviously, like you mentioned earlier, the tough SEC. When you got 5 or 6 teams in the top 25 to start the year, and you know that's not where it's going to end. You'll probably end up with 7 to 8 teams in the SEC, probably ranked in the top 25 at some point.
Troy, I didn't mean to take your time, but
no.
How do you feel about this basketball team?
Yeah, I think, I did want to mention this. Julian Phillips did himself no favors in terms of pressure. And right or wrong, anytime one of these 5-star guys comes in, and obviously everybody looks at them, and their team scrimmage the other day, apparently, he just went absolutely bonkers. And so I'm sure people who were there watching them play think, oh, that kid's, you know, the potential, you know, first-round pick, and he might very well could be, but he didn't do himself any favors in terms of setting expectation. I think they should be pretty good. I agree with the coach. I think, you know, there are some concerns, I think, in different parts, especially offensively, that I don't think they had a year ago. You kind of know what you're getting from Santi, but how you go about replacing maybe the best point guard in, you know, talent-wise in program history. Sorry, Mike, I know you played the position and all that stuff, but, you know, you weren't as good as Kennedy Chandler. I don't know about that. But how you go about replacing him is tough. And, you know, you don't just find guys to replace him. And obviously Zakai is a big part of what they do as a team this year, but Zakai's not Kennedy Chandler. I think he'd be the first person to tell you that. So that's interesting. But I think they'll be a really good team. No reason to think that they're not one of the – there's no reason to think they're not one of the 16 best teams in the country and should be playing on the second weekend of the NCAA tournament. Now, again, easier said than done, a long road to get there. But there's no reason to think that they shouldn't be able to do that.
And there's one thing for sure. You're going to have football excitement going on and basketball excitement because they're going to overlap here in about 3 or 4 weeks. It's going to get real exciting around here. Coach Placeris, you get around this, guys, we'll give you all kinds of advice, but when it gets right down to it, you're going to be making the call right down there at the end of the games. Is that fair enough or not?
I think so. I get a lot of texts from a lot of people. I got a lot of coaches on the outside. So maybe when we lose games, I'll just start, hey, so-and-so texting me to run this. Right.
Yeah.
Call the sports page.
Yeah. Hey, Guy, thanks for sticking around this morning.
Hey, no, I appreciate you guys and appreciate what you guys do for sports all over East Tennessee.
All right. Hey, time for a break, and when we return, it's Sports Headlines with Donnie Moore and the Tennessee Smoky Spotlight. You're listening to the Sports Page, and now stay tuned for the best in local sports.
Aubrey's is known for real comfort, real food, real good. But remember, Aubrey's is also really into Blount County. Aubrey's Maryville has been a strong supporter of local schools and sports programs for more than 15 years. From baseball to football, dance teams, and marching bands, Aubrey's has helped schools and youth programs generate thousands of dollars. It's easy for us to do because it's the right thing to do. So the next time you're looking to choose a place to eat, we hope you'll choose Aubrey's. Real comfort, real food, real good. See what's on the menu at aubreysrestaurants.com.
We all want our loved ones to be safe. Denso in Maryville is at the forefront of creating technology for safer vehicles. Join the automotive industry with Denso in a fast, challenging, clean, and safe environment. They offer great benefits and competitive pay, as well as a convenient on-site healthcare facility, cafes, fitness center, and more. Start your future now. Entry-level production positions start at $16 an hour for second or third shift. Visit denzocareers.com/Maryville to learn more and apply.
Merlin's Music World in Maryville is owned and operated by Dylan Davis and has been a fixture in Maryville since 1987. Guitars, amplifiers, lessons, sound system, and video system installations are products available at Merlin's. Merlin's also offers a 24-track digital recording studio featuring audio engineer Rusty Chambers. Visit Merlin's at 1920 East Lamar Alexander Parkway or call 977-0093.
Make the big play with MVP Money Tools from Knoxville TVA Employees Credit Union. With KTVA ECUs, contactless debit card, direct deposits that hit up to 2 days early, credit cards that earn cashback reward points, and loans with competitive rates. Add all 4 MVP Money Tools to build your financial roster. It's everything you need to win financially.
Join us now.
Federally insured by NCUA. Equal Opportunity Housing Lender. Restrictions may apply. Call for details. 800-467-5427.
The Blue Tick Tavern is home to the tastiest pizza in Blount County. Try our signature Broadway barbecue pizza, grilled chicken and red onions covered in mounds of mozzarella. Or sink your teeth into our one-of-a-kind chicken and bacon pizza, made with an olive oil base, grilled chicken, bacon, red onions, and covered in Brussels petals. The Blue Tick Tavern also has salads, sandwiches, and the area's largest beer selection. Regularly recognized as the best pizza in Blount County, it's the Blue Tick Tavern, located at 128 West Broadway in downtown Maryville. Waters Equipment is your East Tennessee New Holland agriculture and construction dealer. Waters Equipment has been serving Blount County for 48 years and has 2 locations in Maryville for sales and service for New Holland equipment. Offering shop and field service for trucks and equipment of all brands, Waters offers equipment rentals for New Holland skid steer, Mini X, and tractors. Call 238-9000 for your rental needs. That's 238-9000. Waters Equipment New Holland. Excellence in service. For over 50.
Welcome back to the Blue Tick Tavern in downtown Maryville. This is Mike Edwards, the Greenfield Gunner, and with this week's sports headlines, we're going to turn it over to Donnie Moore. Donnie, a lot going on, buddy.
Thank you, Mike. Yeah, there is a lot going on.
I'm getting stomped on by you guys.
Oh, sorry, Troy.
Jeez.
It's okay. Troy's used to being picked on.
I know. He is. He takes it well. He's a jovial guy. All right. The championship series in Major Leagues takes the top headline today. In the ALCS, the Yankees versus the Astros. The Yanks are getting bombed. The Bronx Bombers are being bombed. Game 1, the Astros won it 4-2. Game 2, the Astros prevailed 3-2. Houston leads the series 2-0. And the folks in New York are up in arms about it.
Hey, Garrett Cole, hear me and hear me well. There's a lot of pressure on your shoulders tonight.
Oh, isn't that the truth?
Because they're paying you $50 million or whatever it is. If he goes out there and lays an egg tonight, they're going to start throwing stuff at your windows at your house.
Hey, that Houston pitching has gotten to New York.
They're so good.
They are. They're starters and their bullpen. That pitching, that's where they're at right now.
You just look at these Final Four teams right now, and it's really hard to imagine. I know anything can happen in baseball. It's really hard to imagine anybody but the Astros winning this World Series right now. The Phillies and Padres have their own issues. The Yankees don't look like they're handling Houston very well. And it'll be very interesting to me what happens here because obviously Houston had that whole trash can debacle a few years ago.
Yeah,
if they go on and win this, they're going to be the most hated team in baseball for a very long time.
You know they're getting it without Altuve. He's 0 for 23 in the series.
Just a really good baseball team.
Yeah.
Alex Bregman has been out of this world.
Well, the National League Championship Series, Padres versus Phillies. Game 1, the Phillies won it 2-0. Game 2, Padres reciprocated 8-5. Game 3, the Phillies bounced back and won that one 4-2. Philadelphia leads the series 2-1. Both teams play again today, so we'll see how it goes.
Game series looks like it might go 7.
I think that's a really surprise that the Dodgers are out.
The
Braves
bowed out early. So
one of the things we talked about this new playoff format and what it does, and I think it was me or Marcus had this conversation, or somebody I had this conversation with. The interesting thing about how that best of 3 series sets out is that essentially you get your ace for Game 3, and so if you don't play well to start, like Game 1 becomes ultraly important for these new teams in these series, and that's why the Dodgers lost. The Padres had to go 2 out of 3 there, lined up their ace for a situation where the Dodgers didn't have it. They got a chance to beat some guys, and then obviously put it away with their best pitcher, and so. This is it's interesting. I mean, the Dodgers obviously didn't play well, and the Braves didn't play well, and the Padres are a really good baseball team. And the Phillies have stunned a lot of people getting to this point, but I mean, when you can hit the ball out of the ballpark and you have some good pitching like Aaron Nola and those guys, I mean, anything's possible, and that's why baseball's baseball.
You're right. Well, Dallas Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott confirmed to reporters on Thursday that he would return to the field and start against the Detroit Lions on Sunday. Tomorrow, Prescott, who suffered an injury to the thumb of his throwing hand during Week 1 and underwent surgery, has not played since.
Look, as a Cowboys fan, I would really like to thank Cooper Rush for these last 5 weeks. It's been fun. You kept us in the hunt this season. That's invaluable to have a backup quarterback who played as well as he did. We appreciate you, but go sit on the bench. We need our quarterback back because we looked embarrassing last week.
But here's the thing about Dallas. They rallied around Cooper.
They did.
They played lights out defensively. They went to the run game. They basically put him in a position to say, as long as you do not lose the game for us, everybody else is going to carry this team to a win.
Mm-hmm.
And it worked. 3 out of 4 weeks?
Yeah.
4 out of 5 weeks.
They played terrible last week.
But
now Dak's
now that Dak's back, you cannot.
He's not back.
You can't. That team cannot let down.
No, I think
the defense cannot let up because Dak is back, and the running. You can't go away from that run game that's worked for.
I think the defense is too good to do that, and I do think that they still need to lean on the running game because, regardless of what you say about how they've kind of switched their offensive philosophy with Cooper Rush in there, they haven't run the ball very well offensively. And so they have to keep running it because I just think that it'll open up with Dak being back at quarterback, more of a downfield thrower. You kind of trust him more to get the ball to CD, Michael Gallup, and all those guys. And so, yeah, I think you kind of stick with the plan, but you obviously add a different dynamic with a quarterback who's a little bit more talented.
I tell you what I think the other guy's better than Prescott.
Well, that's because you've been smoking something weird this morning.
No, he's just been.
You got some funky stuff in your cigar.
I'm just saying.
It's craziness.
I'm just saying. No. I'm just saying that guy, not as a player, but it seemed like the team came together better with him than they do with Prescott.
They didn't have a choice.
And
the season was over.
They have a choice.
The season was over if they don't.
I'm just telling you that I think Prescott is not going to play today.
I like the brand of football Dallas played
tomorrow.
without
He's
it.
starting.
I just like
Talk to Jerry?
No.
You talked to Jerry?
He hadn't got cleared yet to play.
He said he's playing.
I know what he said.
He also said he took 140 pitches.
I also see what they say on TV is he has not been cleared to play. He's saying he's going to play, but they're not sure that he is. And, I thought the other quarterback made the team look more like a team without him. That's my opinion. Prescott has not impressed me the time he's been there anyway.
Ray says
the number one offense in the league
says
last year.
That's my opinion. Make it yours.
Yeah.
The number one offense in the league last year.
All right, moving on. Bella Rasmussen. You know that name?
No, I have no idea.
Bella Rasmussen, 18 years old, a senior running back on the Laguna Beach High School football team, became the first female player in California history to score 2 touchdowns in a varsity game when she did it in a 48-0 win last Friday night over Santa Ana Godinez. Rasmussen had touchdown runs of 1 and 4 yards. Rasmussen stands 5 feet 9 inches tall and weighs in at a hefty 135 pounds.
Oh, gosh.
There you go. You heard it first right here on the sports page. Mississippi State football announced on Wednesday that freshman offensive lineman Sam Westmoreland died suddenly just a few days shy of his 19th birthday. Westmoreland was a native of Tupelo, Mississippi, and attended Tupelo High School. The athletics department and the school did not release any details regarding his death. The school is working with the local sheriff's office, the MSU Division of Student Affairs, and the MSU Athletics Department to determine the facts. So that maybe they'll let us know something sometime.
Well, that's a hard thing to deal with when you got that and you got to go play a football game.
Yeah,
today.
no doubt.
What that's
tough on a school. On a football team.
It's tough on the coach.
It
and
is.
everybody
You're right.
else there. He's trying to, he's trying to hold his team together.
That's right.
And he's trying to keep and also try to help the parents and
Right.
It's
Got a lot of things to deal with. Right?
Oh, terrible.
The
Terrible.
NBA 2022-23 edition is back in business, and in the opening games of the season this week, the Golden State Warriors received their 2022 championship rings. They then went on to maul the LA Lakers 123-109, and the Lakers lost their second game of the year as well, by the way.
What a surprise.
Yeah, really.
LeBron's just waiting for his son to get in the league.
Yeah.
That's all he's doing. He's cashing checks until Bronny shows up.
The Boston Celtics topped the Philadelphia 76ers 126-117 in the East Coast opener. Joey Logano used fresh tires to chase down Ross Chastain to take the win Sunday at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and in doing so, Logano is the first driver to qualify for NASCAR's Championship 4. Logano made the pass on Chastain with only 3 laps to go to earn his third win of the season. The 8 drivers who remain will be whittled down to 4 for the winner-take-all finale at Phoenix next month.
The season's almost over?
Yeah, next month.
Jeez, it's been
Only
going
got
on.
a month to go.
You missed it because
it's been going on for 18 months.
We're going back
We're gonna try to beat the snow.
The old formula, because we ended up putting some MMA out there in the middle of the race.
Yeah.
They, some entertainment.
That's right.
Down there with some
that's
fisticuffs.
that's my next item. Bubba Wallace was suspended for one race by NASCAR on Tuesday. Wallace will have to sit out the upcoming race at Homestead Miami Speedway after he spun out reigning champ Kyle Larson last Sunday at Las Vegas, then confronted him afterwards. That's where the fisticuffs came in. He gave Larson quite a few pretty hefty shoves. And I saw some slaps,
there were some
too.
shoves, and
who won the fight?
I don't have a problem with.
Well, Larson just kind of backed off.
I don't have a problem with the provocation.
If you run away, you lose.
I think Bubba put NASCAR in a very tough position because
he did.
What he did by intentionally wrecking Larson with that new car and the way he did it, he's just lucky that there was another car in the way.
Right.
Because the way he was headed, he could have killed him.
He could. You're right.
That car was headed to the wall backwards at full speed.
Yeah.
And if that with those new cars as rigid as they are, that could have been a traumatic injury.
It really could.
So
it could.
I get what NASCAR's doing, but they're just not in the position where anything they do right now is a losing proposition.
You're right. Wallace is the first Cup Series driver to be suspended for an on-track incident since 2015.
Sounds like a Tony Stewart thing.
Yeah, it does. I got a public service announcement here. Please join the Blount County School Nutrition Association for a fundraising event called Feeding Our Kids. It's going to be Saturday, November the 5th at Mary Blount Elementary School Cafe at 131 South Old Glory Road in Maryville from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. They'll have vendors, crafts, yard sale treasures, and a bake sale. They got 25 indoor vendor spaces, tables for rent, $20 a table. For rental information, you can email bcsnatn@gmail.com or contact Ron Thames at telephone number 865-407-8870. As you know, Congress put a nix on the free lunches and breakfasts for this year, and Blount County School Nutrition Association is trying to put together several of these fundraisers to pay for free lunches for our kids for next year. So
I was wondering if that was your NIL deal.
They put
could be.
They put together it's a good fundraising program to make up for those lost federal funds to continue what was in place.
Right. Yeah. So Take care of that. Participate in that if you want to.
What
Go
do you
see
mean the people don't have enough money to feed their kids breakfast?
Some people don't. You're right. Yeah, some a lot of our kids are having trouble coming up with money to eat breakfast and lunch at school, so they have to apply for federal funds that are not as available as they used to be. So,
well, there's a lot of people that abuse that program too.
I agree with that too, Ray. I agree with that too. That's all for this week's sports headlines. Let's focus on the spotlight, Gunner.
Yeah, and before we get to the spotlight, I want to we're talking about pro basketball. You know, it kicking off. The Pacers kicked off in Indianapolis the other night.
God.
They've got a new tradition. They're pulling out all the stops. They're putting a race car in the arena, and they're going to have a fan come down before the game and start the they're going to start the race car before the game as part of their promotions. I don't really know what that's got to do with the Pacers. The Pacers name came from
a pace car.
No, it did not. It came from the races, the harness races.
Yeah.
The horses.
Yeah, that's Pacer. That's Pacer.
Because they used to have the harness races out the fairgrounds in Indianapolis, and that's how the Pacers got their name. It doesn't have anything to do with the race car whatsoever.
Mike, let me ask you a question. Yeah. How many fans are going to be at those games? The Pacers are horrible.
Oh, they fill the place. They love the Indiana Pacers up there.
Can you imagine how loud that's going to sound in that arena?
Well, they've already done it. They did it the first game. Mario Andretti started the first deal. I don't know how he felt about starting a race car.
Man, that's going to be loud.
We're going to send Mike to Indiana to start an
How about all
Indiana
that
version of the
smoke
sports
in the
page.
Gym.
Yeah. Hey, before we get into some of the games, we have forgot to talk about this morning Chase McGrath's field goal, Coach Trail, that knuckleballer, and I was trying to compare it sort of like you and I. We probably kicked cans that were prettier than that back in our day. I'm telling you right now, that was the most ugly, beautiful kick that I believe I've ever seen on a football field.
Was it tipped?
Mm-hmm.
See,
no.
I don't think it was
tipped.
tipped.
It was not tipped.
I don't think it was tipped
They
either.
showed it back on TV. It did not tip. It did not tip. But, it's like baseball.
Yeah.
Those kicks look like line drives. They might be bloop singles in baseball, but they look like line drives in the box
From
score.
our seats, we thought he missed it.
Yeah.
Because we were on the opposite end of the field.
McGrath said he saw on the film where Byron Young got a finger on it.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. I saw it on television. That same angel was out there on that field.
He was pushing the ball in?
That helped Arkansas fumble that football back in the day.
Yeah.
That angel has showed back up in Neyland Stadium and pushed that ball on over the goalpost because that's all they could have done.
I didn't think it was going to. I thought it was going to.
It was going to be short by about 5
I thought
yards.
it was going to just.
I thought it was going to die.
It looked like it was just kind of just going to die.
It doesn't matter how pretty it was.
Exactly.
Huh?
It doesn't matter how pretty it was. It went through.
He got all of it, that's for sure.
I'm just saying it was the ugliest kick I've seen in a long time to make it.
Looked like it hit it over there with his fist, didn't it? Instead of his
I don't
foot.
know what I thought. I really did think somebody had hit it because the ball was going almost this way.
It just made it hurt for Alabama even worse to get beat with a kick like that. That's all I can say about it.
Definitely.
Yeah. Hey, let's talk about some games. UT Martin is at UT today. There is a football game we haven't talked about. And Tennessee's, of course, number 3. It's homecoming. 12 noon on the SEC Network, and the Vols are a 38-point favorite. This is an FCS team.
The number 14 team in FCS, Mike.
I understand that. You love them. The Ohio Valley Conference, they're undefeated in the conference, 4-2 coming in. So they're not as bad record-wise as some of these teams that show up when these players dressed in these uniforms. But this team, is coming in and very respectable on offense.
Very bad on defense.
Very bad on defense. So that'll be good news to our offense and our quarterbacks.
Well, we'll have another game just like the last one.
Yeah, could be.
Just throw it on.
Yeah, but wouldn't be surprised if UT Martin put some points up on the board. They're averaging 37.5 points a game, but it's I don't know. Better to have an open date or play UT Martin today, Coach Trail.
Well,
what do you think?
A game like this, after a game like that,
is nice.
I'd start my second team. I wouldn't take a chance on getting
somebody
my
hurt.
first. Getting somebody hurt out there when
We might see 3 quarterbacks today.
I think we would see 3 quarterbacks
Well, that'd
today.
be.
Hey.
I would. I might start my first team and play them a quarter or something. But you can look in the room here. Now, last week
it was
It
jam-packed.
was jam-packed.
And nobody's
in
here right
and
now.
it
They did
was-
sell it out at
and-
Neyland Stadium.
Oh, I'm not saying that. I'm just thinking. Look at this.
There's
place
not a
right
lot
now.
of excitement right now
No,
for UT Martin.
No, well, everybody's still living on the last game. You
Right.
know, there's no excitement.
Right.
Some people
I don't
haven't woken
know.
up from the last game yet.
They
Yeah,
probably
somebody-
got that stadium locked up. They may take the new goalpost down before this game even starts.
Yeah,
the ones
they-
that didn't get a piece of the other might want these. You know,
That's right.
I don't know
Well,
what's going to happen.
give Martin credit because, they had the bye week getting ready for Tennessee. And so just from what the head counts I've been able to put together from various reports, their chancellor was here at the Alabama game. Their quarterback was here at the game watching.
Mm-hmm.
Their head coach was here because his son plays for Alabama. So there was a lot of UT Martin people who were watching the Alabama game and taking in that atmosphere.
Yeah.
But when UT put out the tweet about we're going to raise money to replace the goalpost, UT Martin answered back and said, well, if y'all need a place to play the game, we'll host the game over here
Exactly.
if you want.
Yeah. And I don't know. Maybe it's time for inflatable
Where is
goalpost.
UT Martin?
It's in Martin, Tennessee.
Right.
I never heard of it.
It's near Memphis.
North of Memphis.
North of Memphis. Look, I will say this.
Long drive.
Tennessee tried really hard to recruit Ty Simpson to Tennessee, which is the son of the coach at UT Martin. Might not be pretty today. I'll admit I'm a little bit more petty than the average human being, but if I was Josh Heupel, I'd run it up on Mr. Ty Simpson's father today. Remind him that he probably should have come to Tennessee.
Remember, he was Gatorade Player of the Year in 2A at Westview when they won the state championship.
Hey, let's talk about, before we get out of here, let's talk about, and Troy's going to, I know he's got some of these games probably in the picks, but number 7, Ole Miss is at LSU. Coach Trail, this is a huge game, 3:30 on the CBS. Ole Miss is ranked 7th in the country, 7-0, 3-0 in the conference. LSU's 5-2, 3-1 in the conference. Believe it or not, LSU fighting for second place in the West.
And his favorite in
second
the
place
favorite
and
in the
favored
betting lines.
Yeah, point and a half, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Yep.
Coach Trail, huge game.
Well, I tell you what, I'm not sure I would go with LSU because they have played a tougher schedule than Ole Miss has played. Ole Miss, to me, has not played anybody, and they've not beaten anybody. The ones they've played, they've beaten, but I mean, they hadn't played. You know what I'm talking about in the top echelon plays.
But they got LSU today, Texas A&M
at LSU,
and at Texas A&M next week, and Alabama coming in the next 3 weeks. That's a pretty strong haul right there.
If I were a player, I might be sick.
I like that. A little bit of coughing, a little bit of COVID, whatever.
I really don't feel like I can play.
COVID outbreak.
Yeah, they got a tough haul, but that's gonna set that West up. And we talked about Alabama last week, where they had to play Arkansas on the road.
Yeah.
And then they had to play Texas A&M at home, and then they had to come to Kentucky or at Tennessee. Maybe looked a little road weary last week. They didn't think they had the enthusiasm. Now you're looking at a Mississippi team. It's got LSU today, and then they've got next week Texas A&M and College Station down there, and then they got Alabama.
Yeah.
So
I tell you what,
they got a tough haul here.
If I was a rebel, I'd probably be sick.
That's why I think Alabama.
COVID.
That's why I think Alabama.
Oh yeah.
We're gonna see Alabama when it all shakes out. I think that's who we're gonna see over in the West.
Alabama's got a tough game today. I just given the way Tennessee threw the ball against Alabama last week, Mississippi State does very similar things to Tennessee. I think Alabama wins today, but they're going to get tested, and it's a very important game for Alabama to win
I think
today.
Alabama's going to have 6 interceptions and roll this thing.
The thing is, you think Alabama this week is just sit on their butt. I bet that coach is.
But you could say the same thing about Mississippi State. They lost to Kentucky last week.
I know it, but
these are two pissed off teams.
Not number one team in your top 2-3 team, and you lose a game. and look bad doing it. I mean,
yeah, you didn't only get beat by Tennessee, you beat yourself.
That's right.
You got beat by 2 people last week, yourself and Tennessee.
And that's just not
just Tennessee.
Woo.
Yeah, all those penalties and everything. Hey, we're going to be back to talk about some more games in the picks, so we'll take a timeout here, and when we return, the panel presents the Shelter Insurance College Football Predictions. You're listening to the Goatee Sports page, and now stay tuned for the best in local sports.
For over 50 years and 3 generations, the people of Blount County have trusted Stevenson Tire with their vehicles and their families. Our mission has always been simple: to provide quality products at reasonable prices with exceptional customer service. Featuring tire products from Michelin, BF Goodrich, Uniroyal, Bridgestone, Firestone, and Yokohama, Stevenson Tire also offers alignment and brake services at affordable prices. Stevenson Tire Company, 2411 East Broadway Avenue in Maryville. Call 983-1621 or online at StevensonTire.net.
Your newspaper, that's right. The Daily Times is your newspaper, tailored to where you live, emphasizing the things that affect you and keeping track of the people and players in our community. The award-winning Daily Times can be delivered each morning right to your door or inbox with the latest in local news and sports. For a 30-day free trial offer, call 981-1100 and begin enjoying your life, your times, every day with the Daily Times.
Dunkin' has what you need to conquer the day. So if you want to go from, I don't got this, to, I got this, well, then get this. A bold, smooth espresso drink from Dunkin'. Like a layered velvety caramel macchiato, a rich chocolatey mocha latte, or a creamy non-dairy oat milk latte. Because this day isn't going to conquer itself. No, you're going to do that. Take a sip of You Got This with Dunkin' Espresso drinks. Order ahead on the app plus earn rewards. America runs on Dunkin'. Price and participation may vary.
The Roger L. Newman Company began in 1984 with a vision of providing Blount County with excellent heating and cooling service. Mr. Newman also wanted a real business. No gimmicks and no high-pressure sales. They just fix it or replace it. They want to stay within your budget and make you comfortable. Their motto still stands true today: call us first, we'll be there. Call Roger L. Newman Company at 982-5446 or visit online at rogerlnewman.com. Cooler temperatures are approaching. Upgrade your furnace now for as little as $50 a month.
Welcome back to the Blue Tick Tavern in downtown Maryville. This is Mike Edwards, and it's time for this week's panel Shelter Insurance College Football predictions. Troy, I'll turn it over to you, guy.
Mike, I want to actually start with you. You might have a beef with Charlie Palaio. Because, he came in here, his first ever guest appearance, and, he really stunk it up for you. Yeah. And every time he's guest picked since then, the person he's guest picked for has been near the top of the leaderboard. And I just wanted to ask you how that makes you feel. I thought you guys were good friends.
Well, I'm having a hard time recovering. You can see that. No? But I'll try not to miss any more weeks.
Well, yeah. So here's the thing. We're sitting here doing.
Coach Trail, haul me in here.
Yeah, I got you.
If not for the whole show, haul me in here for the picks.
Yeah, just for the picks, if nothing else.
We're sitting here last week, getting ready to do this thing, and we look around and realize Marcus is gone. He just got up and left. He didn't say goodbye to anyone. He just with the old Irish goodbye. He just disappeared. And then so I had to rush and text Charlie, and what do you know? Charlie goes 3-2 for Marcus last week. Yeah. The best record on the board. Yeah. and Marcus needed it because he's so far back he couldn't see. He was using binoculars to see the rest of the standings. Yeah. So yes, Marcus goes 3-2 last week.
My view of you all does not change.
Marcus went 3-2 last week to improve to 13-21. He's still very pathetic at the very bottom of the standings.
Like a homeless person on the sports page, isn't he? Huh? We get that boy some lunch. Those picks.
Well, they got one right there on the table for him.
Already ready to go.
Already
to take out of here.
Donnie Moore went 2-3 last week. He sits in 4th place at 15-19.
And Charlie's was his best picks.
Yes.
Yeah.
You
better start getting out of here early yourself.
Me and Mike tied for 2nd place right now at 16-18 after we went 2-3 last week.
I went 3-2 last week.
You went 2-3.
No, 3-2.
Mike, you picked Bama. They didn't cover. You picked Mississippi State. They lost. You picked Michigan. They won.
Yeah, they won.
You picked TCU.
They won.
And then you picked Georgia. Oh, you're right. You did go 3 and 2.
3 and
That's my
2.
fault. My math is bad.
Yeah, you got to watch him. You got to watch him. If you play golf with him, you got to take his strokes. Don't get to the end of the hole and say, "What'd you get, Troy?" Because it's going to be a lot
Mike,
less.
You know what? That's my fault. You are right. I'm happy. I'm always
sorry.
I'm always happy for an.
I could have let it go, but it's you.
If you guys ever want to audit the sheet, feel free to audit the sheet. I'm all about OpenSea and transparency. Okay.
What is OpenSea?
I don't know. I'm flustered now. So Mike and Ray went 3 and 2 last week, and now they are tied at first place at 17 and 17.
Should we give him a chance this week, Coach?
Yeah,
every time we do this, we go off air, and Mike goes, "I think I'm going 0-5 this week." He's done that the last 3 weeks.
Yep.
All right, we're going to start with where game day is today. Number 9 UCLA at number 10 Oregon. Oregon is a 7-point favorite in Eugene, and just for people who care about these sorts of things, an Oregon win would go a long way toward Tennessee's playoff chances. You need some of these undefeated teams to start dropping like flies on the off chance Tennessee loses to Georgia. That's what I'm saying. So you want Oregon to win today if you are a Tennessee fan. But again, UCLA at Oregon. Oregon a 7-point favorite. Mike, I'm not starting with you because I know you like to complain about being the first person off the board. Marcus, start us off.
Oh, the Ducks are going to win this one.
But they win by 7.
They're going to win. I think they might win by more than that.
Okay. Donnie Moore.
I think the Ducks are going to cover that spread.
Okay. Ray Trail.
I'm going to go with UCLA.
You're going with UCLA.
Ooh, look at you go.
Mike, what do you got?
I hate to pick anybody that Marcus picks. But quack, quack, quack. I'm taking the Ducks.
Should I call Charlie and ask
isn't the
for
Ducks
advice?
the same one that Georgia beat 30
Yeah,
to 6
they had no quack down there.
They lost their quack.
Well, they when they come
among
to the
other
South,
things, among other parts of the body.
I have to believe it'll be cold in Eugene today. That might play a factor. UCLA not used to playing too many, but 7 points is a lot of points. I like UCLA today. Not saying they win, but I do like them with the 7 points. Number 17 Kansas State at number 8 Tennessee at number 8 TCU, not Tennessee. But again, if you're a Tennessee fan, you're a Wildcats fan today. You'd like to see TCU drop a game here and fall out of it. TCU is a 3.5-point favorite. Marcus, who you got?
It's a 3.5-point line.
3.5-point favorite TCU against Kansas State.
I will go with TCU then.
And go with the Horned Frogs.
It's
Donnie Moore
at TCU.
At TCU.
Oh, they'll
in Fort Worth.
They'll cover that easily.
Ray.
That spread.
TCU.
Horny frogs. The
Mike.
Horny toads.
The horny
Yeah,
toads.
that's what Coach Trail called them.
That's what they said they were.
Mike.
TCU.
When we played them. They said if they take the cheerleaders out there, they wouldn't have any more horny
You know what? No.
Let's move on to the next game.
You know what?
Who you got next?
I am gonna take Kansas State in this one.
Okay.
I think the Wildcats find a way to control the possession of the clock a little bit. Not saying again TCU doesn't win, but I do think they cover 3.5. All right, we're gonna go to the SEC slate. By the way, we are not picking this Tennessee game this week. It opened as a 38-point favorite. It has since been removed from the sports books. We're following Vegas. Everybody knows Tennessee's going to cover this game. UT Martin ain't got a shot, so we're going to just not pick that game. Texas A&M, -3 at the South Carolina Fighting Edwards.
Boy, you talked me right out of them at Kentucky 2 weeks ago. Talked me right out of them. Just ripped me, and I took Kentucky, and they just laid an egg.
Marcus.
Just absolutely laid an egg. But are you asking me who I've got in this
No,
game?
I'm starting with Marcus because you don't like to go first.
Okay.
Marcus,
All right, I got you.
A&M at South Carolina. Ooh, a 3-point favorite, A&M. It's tough.
It hurts, but I'm gonna go with the Aggies on that. I just don't feel South Carolina's got it.
Donnie Moore.
Well, I've picked A&M so many times over and over and over again, and they've disappointed me every time.
So you go with South Carolina.
So I'm going to go with the Cops.
Eventually, you have to learn your lesson, right, Trey?
Yeah, I'll take a cock too.
We're going off the rails here. Mike, who do you got?
Hey, I'm taking.
I know you're a Beamer guy through and through. You're taking Carolina.
Don't talk me out of this again.
It's your fault, Troy.
You ruined me against.
You're taking Carolina?
I am. South Carolina. I like the way their quarterback's playing right now. He's come around.
Hey, look.
Go Cock.
If I am nothing,
Go Cock.
if I am nothing else, I am stubborn.
Oh Lord.
I am not picking South Carolina. I do not believe in South Carolina.
You wouldn't
I'm
put
going
South
with
Carolina
A&M.
if he's playing the Russians.
Playing the Russians. All right.
All the Russians at one time?
No.
Or some of them.
Yeah.
Number 7, Ole Miss at LSU. As we said earlier, LSU is a 1.5-point favorite in Death Valley.
Miss
3:30 in the afternoon.
Marcus.
That's almost a coin toss.
Yeah.
They don't play well at home.
I am going to ride the
don't,
lane
you're
train
right.
on this. I'm going to say Ole Miss is going to carry this.
Okay. Donnie Moore.
That's a coin flip.
It's a hard one.
grief.
It is just supposed to be hard, guys. I say this every week. It's not supposed to be easy.
You're right. It's not. Ole Miss by 1.5.
Ole Miss
Right?
LSU by 1.5.
LSU
LSU's the favorite at home today.
That's just like the home advantage.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
less than 3 points
Yeah.
is usually the home advantage. Oh man.
It's tough. It's a hard one.
I'm going to say
Hurry up, Coach Trail's going to talk about LSU's cheerleaders.
Yeah,
Don't give him more trouble.
you're right.
Don't give him the break, Donnie.
I'm going to say Kiffin finds a way.
Okay. Ole Miss it is. Ray Trail.
LSU
LSU.
at home.
Mike?
The last time LSU played at home, they played Tennessee, and
And they
they
got
were
walloped.
absolutely thrashed.
They were horrible,
I think,
weren't they?
yeah, but I think this is a comeback right here.
Oh, you're going
I say
LSU.
LSU goes into the second place in the West after today, and Mississippi starts their slide to the.
They fix to go through the grinder.
I think they start dropping.
Yeah.
I think
meat grinder.
I think Ole Miss's defense gives Jaden Daniels some problems, and I think Ole Miss finds some offense, maybe just enough to beat LSU today. I'm going with the Rebels.
Okay.
Just so I'm clear, overtime games, are those nulls? What?
No, overtime games count.
They do count. Okay.
Yeah, I learned that the hard way when I bet Tennessee minus 7.5 against Pittsburgh week 2.
Okay. Because I feel like there should be a proviso that if somebody's playing at LSU in the 3:30 game, if it goes into overtime and it's dark, that should be a whole reset.
All right, and we're going to close it out with this one. Number 24 Mississippi State at number 6 Alabama, and you might think, well, that's not a game, Troy. But Vegas also doesn't think this is going to be a game, and I think this makes it really hard. Alabama is a 21-point favorite against the Bulldogs today. Marcus, who you got?
Alabama.
Alabama.
No doubts. I have a full bounce back.
Okay.
Bama by only 3 touchdowns.
Donnie?
I think Bama will cover that easily.
Ray Trail. 21 points is many
Will
points.
Rogers, what a quarterback he is.
They playing at Mississippi State.
At Alabama.
Oh, at Alabama.
You're going to take Bama. I can see it
Yeah.
in your eyes. Come on, Mike. I know you have some sense here.
Bryce Young is healthy. They put 49 points up on the board last week with 17 penalties. They cover. Bama covers.
At least Troy.
You guys are making me feel real bad about this, like I'm an idiot or something. I don't see Mississippi State having a stinker again like they did last week at Kentucky. They figure it out offensively. Alabama's secondary gives me a lot of cause for concern. I'm going to say Alabama wins, but to give them 21 points is ridiculous. I'm taking the Bulldogs. Donnie, you can go ahead and blow that whistle. I think y'all are crazy.
Hey, the final whistle's blown. That'll do it for today's edition of the Sports Page. Thanks to Aaron Ishmael at Loud Media, our host, the Blue Tick Tavern, and all our sponsors. For Donnie Moore, Coach Ray Trail, Marcus Fitzsimmons, Troy Provo-Heron, and the pride of Florida State, Brian Johnston. Until next Saturday, this is Mike Edwards, the Greenfield Gunner, wishing everyone good sports.
I'll be honest. I'm with Mike. I don't feel good about any of those picks right
I don't feel good about any of my picks. I don't ever feel any good about them, to be honest with you. But Troy just about talked me out of that FCS game. James
Georgia
Madison.
Southern. I can't
Georgia
believe they
Southern.
lost that game.
I tell you,